Hello, Leafs Nation. We're here for the first episode of Leafs Talk of the new season, season six, five for talking, 2022-2023. I'm here with Caps. We're obviously a little bit before the season starts here, but we wanted to do a quick episode, maybe just addressing some of the situations right before it starts. If you haven't seen our tier list video that we just did ranking the NHL, go check it out. It's on the channel. So let's just get into this. I have a few questions and you're the expert, so I'm hoping you have a few answers. What are they trying to do?
Well, I think you touched base on it like in the last video, but I think it was a pretty accurate analysis, and that is that they're trying to build a team that's difficult to play against in the playoffs, not the season, but in the playoffs. And I think the pieces that they put in place kind of showcase that. Now, a lot of their moves are going to cause people to question Kyle Dubas, but I mean, that comes with the territory, that comes with the job. Like, he's going to make decisions that are going to, puzzle people. And the fact of the matter is, let's give it a shot. You don't know what you have until you actually see it on the ice. And sometimes it works out, aka Bunting and Kampf and Kasha, and sometimes it doesn't, aka Richie. So, I think the biggest question mark right now is obviously the goaltending. I think the defense has gotten better, despite what a lot of people might seem to think. But I think towards the end of the season, when they got Giordano, caused Liljegren to play a lot better, and I think that'll carry over to this year. It's obviously Giordano's going to be a little older, but he's not going to play the majority of the minutes. He's going to be there if they need him to play those minutes, but he's definitely not going to be the guy to play those minutes. And I think we talked about it last year in terms of what they were trying to accomplish with the defense, and that is take minutes away from Riley so he could be a lot more effective and he won't be as tired, and trying to spread around the duties of defense. But question marks are there. Can these guys stay healthy? More so Jake Muzzin, but time will tell. What do you think?
I mean, I think you said everything basically. So for me, I feel like they're trying to build a better two-way team. We talked about that. The core is still there, and the core is going to win you regular season games. They need those other players to win the playoff games. And I like that. I think this is the smartest built team that they've built so far. I do have a lot of question marks on defense and a lot of question marks about the scenario. So we're seeing the team the way it is. We're over the cap, so we'll get to that in a bit. But you have Jordy Ben and you have Victor Mete. None of them have been talked about at all since the signing. So I'm clearly believing that they're not ever going to play unless there's a huge injury. But they're also not on two-way contracts, so they're going to have to clear waivers, which is probably not going to go well for the Leafs. And then you still haven't signed Sandin, but you're brought in Zach Aston Reese on a PTO, which I like that move. But if you're going to sign him, we need to dump cap here. So there's only really two options. You dump Hall, but then you leave yourself still with an opening on defense that's kind of dead zone. And yes, that covers what you're over, I believe, in the cap, but it doesn't cover what Zach Aston Reese is going to cost you. Then you could dump Kerfoot, but if you dump Kerfoot, you still would be, I think, 200,000 over the cap if you sign Aston Reese and Sandin. So I'm really confused at what they're trying to do. Do you have anything on that you can help me with?
No, I don't, because I don't know.
What's the cap situation? How much are we over? It's like 1.5, right?
1.493. and roster size is 22 out of 23 players. Contracts 48 out of 50. And yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. It's so funny because there's a whole bunch of other teams that are over the cap, and it just seems as though, like, as soon as the season starts, all of a sudden they're compliant. I don't know if it has anything to do with who they have on the long-term injury reserve, but when I'm looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs, they don't have anybody on the long-term injury reserve.
Yeah, because everyone came off now.
They finally rid themselves of the Kessel contract.
Yeah,
But still they're over. I don't know, man. I have no idea.
maybe there's some kind of situation where you can bury a contract in the AHL even if he's playing in the NHL. I honestly don't know. Cap is not my specialty. You're more of the cap guy, but I mean, well, that's your name.
But the funny thing is that as we're going along, even throughout this whole channel, we've started learning more and more about the cap and things that we never knew before. Specifically, enough is a long-term injury reserve, and the fact that when you bring in players that are on long-term injury reserve, you actually increase more space on your cap, which we didn't know about that, and now we've come to find out that is actually the Tampa Bay rule. But it's so funny because like we're still learning as we're going along, and I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know what they're gonna do. I initially thought that they would have to trade someone out, and that would have to be Justin Hall.
But then if you trade Hall,
you still got to sign someone.
You still got to sign someone, right? And Sandin is going to cost you that 1.5 million minimum. And I do want to keep Aston Reese. If you can convince him to sign a two-way, so that way you can bury his contract in the AHL, great. But he's the kind of guy we need right now, and I know I keep talking about it, but that's why. I really feel like we want to sign him. He brings the kind of thing that we need on this team. He can play. He can fit in offensively. He won't be great, but he'll fit in, and he brings us exactly what we need defensively. His defensive metrics are like on a level of Camp. So he's the type of guy we want, but what do you give up? Are you willing to give up Kerfoot, who brings you two-way and goal scoring, but his contract is $3.5 million or whatever it is? Because Hall is not enough. And dumping Hall doesn't solve your problem because you still need to fill a defensive spot. Yep. Your only option is dumping forwards. And the way I see it, the only really player when I look at that roster, like Kerfoot is my cap choice. I don't want to lose Kerfoot, but he's my cap choice. When I'm looking at that roster on paper, the only player to me that screams out you don't belong on this team is Simmons. But his contract is literally nothing. So there's no point in dumping him. It doesn't help you at all to dump him. I'm at a loss here.
Like I'm at a loss too.
I really don't know what the play is here.
I'm at a loss too because I'm looking at the salary cap friendly, and I'm seeing Adam Gaudette. I'm seeing Joey Anderson. Kyle Clifford is on here. So we know that these guys are not going to get a lot of playing time. So when they get buried, do they come off the cap, or I don't have no idea.
And it's like, I wish a lot of teams are already getting cap compliant where the Leafs have not, which to me is like, because Carolina is going to do the Vegas/Tampa Bay where they're going to bury Pacioretty in the injured reserve.
Yeah, that's why they were able to, like, they're going to bring in more players afterwards. I don't know. This is a tough one.
I feel like if what's happening now, the reason we're not seeing signings or movement is because is because they're going to make a trade.
They're going to have to.
And I think that's what, okay, I'm not going to guarantee this because it's just a player trial, but I think the Aston Reese thing is because there's a trade coming that involves a forward. And I think I want him gone, and I want to free up the cap because I would rather have Sandin than Hall. But getting rid of Hall doesn't help you because you still need a sixth defenseman, and Hall is the guy is a good enough guy as a sixth or a seventh defenseman. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with that. Despite what a lot of people are saying, I agree. Like Hall is a very effective sixth or seventh defenseman.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't want him on the team, but like when you look at the grand scheme of it, you need him.
Yeah.
Your only options are on forwards, but I look at the forward roster and I'm like, bro, we can't move any of these guys. I want to keep these guys. This looks sexy to me on paper, and
very sexy.
It's a sexy paper. I really don't know, because look, you can go through the salary cap for us. If once you get to everything underneath Kerfoot is not worth trading because their salaries are not high enough, and anything above Kerfoot are players you're not going to trade unless it's Nylander.
Yeah.
But then again, Nylander really, for a chunk of the season, was the guy carrying the team on his back. And then in the playoffs, he was pretty good as well. I mean, minus the one game that we definitely can say that he was not good in.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wish he was a lot more consistent.
Yeah.
When he's on, he's on. But he needs to be on more consistently. And it's so funny that we're talking about this stuff, and then like during the offseason, there were talks of bringing in Patrick Kane, and we're like, how in the hell is that gonna
I wouldn't
happen?
even want it because I know what comes with that. A huge salary.
It's just like even if Chicago retains 50%, like where do you fit that?
Okay, hold on. What if this happens? What if, to free up cap and to make some kind of move, the Leafs give their first round pick, maybe 2 first round picks, who knows, and Nylander, let's say. And how much is his salary?
6.96.
6.96. You gave that, okay? And I believe Kane's salary is $10 million. If you made that trade, Nylander and 2 firsts and a prospect, I don't even care at this point. I'm just making up a trade. And they retain like 80% of Kane's salary. So Kane's contract only comes in at $2 million, which puts you.
I don't think a team can retain more than 50% though.
I think they can. Okay, well, let's just say hypothetically then, just because I'm not going to dig right now into like the world. But let's say that happened. Then you can re-sign Sandin and you can sign Aston Reese. And you would probably, I think at that point, you're still 800,000 or 700,000 under the cap.
You're doing a lot of math right now that's throwing me off.
Either way, you'll be slightly under the cap, and now you'll have Patrick Kane, and you'll have re-signed Sandin, so you'll have your 7 defensemen with your backup of Ben and Mete, and you'll have Aston Reese as your extra forward. Well, so one of the guys will become your extra forward that's on the roster. Most likely Gaudette.
Yeah. Hey, whatever makes the team better.
I just went way too hypothetical there.
You did. I don't even know if, knowing Kyle Dubas, I really don't know if he was considering William Nylander in that potential hypothetical deal for Kane. I don't know. I don't know. It would be very interesting how those talks went. I would love to be a fly on the wall and actually listen in, seeing, who's being discussed and all that stuff, because that would have been very interesting to me. I would love to know who he was talking about. I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
You know what? I think that's a fair assessment, because this whole situation is, I don't know. I'm very confused by the goal.
But yeah, so let's just take the cap out of this whole thing, and let me ask you this. What you're seeing, how do you feel things might go?
I think if all the question marks play out the way that I personally, not on paper, not statistically, the way I personally think it will, or feel that it will, I think that they're a legit contender. And this team that they've put together is arguably the most cup-worthy team as a whole. I think they finally filled in the kind of spots that you like. They got a little tougher. They got better defensively. They got a little grittier. They still have a scoring ability. They've taken their eye off of superstar players and they're building more around a team game. And you still have Austin Matthews. And in net, like I said, this is the best 1-2 pairing you've had.
If it works out.
Yeah, if it works out. The whole depth, all the way down the goalie, this is the best depth we've had. The problem is they need to stay healthy. Samsonov was a top-tier goaltending prospect until he got injured last year. He was supposed to be the guy for Washington. And he was the best European goalie that's happened since Vasilevsky. There was so much hype around him, and then whatever happened, happened. And then we know Murray has the experience. We know he has the ability. He's like 3 years younger than Campbell is. So if he can stay healthy, I think that's a good 1-2 punch, and it should work out. It should. And with Giordano there on defense, I think that makes a huge difference. I need to see what their plan is with this cap situation.
Yeah, I think you said it best. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what. Forgive me if I can't say his name properly, but John Croc.
Oh, Jan Kroc, yeah.
John Croc, there you go. I don't know too much about him, but he's heavily sought after, and
I mean,
he got a pretty decent contract.
Those guys all are going to fall into that category of like the Kashas and the Camps. Camp maybe a little bit less because he's more focused on his defensive ability. But like the other guys, like Buntings and the Kasha, that are playing really well on both ends, that will get physical with you if they have to, but can still score. That's the kind of player he is, and he's quite experienced at this point.
Yep. I don't know. I really don't have much to say over the fact that I wouldn't even like. I wouldn't even be disappointed if their PTO signing Austin Crease, I believe his name is. You mentioned it before.
Austin Reese, yeah.
Austin Reese. God, I'm forgetting names today. Even if he makes it into the lineup, I'm not even disappointed because
I want him, man. His defensive metrics are amazing.
Yeah, but who comes out? I'm assuming Simmons, right?
It's either going to be Simmons or Gaudette, I think.
Gaudette is a natural center. I think Reese is more of a winger.
Yeah, but we have other centers too. We can move someone to a center spot.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to the season. And it's as disappointing as the outcome was last season. Let's give it another go.
Before we sign off here, I just want to make one wild prediction. I think this is going to be a breakout year for Engvall.
I hope so.
I think he's going to put up crazy numbers, and he's going to start throwing his body around, and we're going to be all surprised by it.
I hope so, because I did see an article where he did say he needs to be more physical, and I'm glad that he recognizes that, because by him being more physical, he's just going to be that much better. And it's so funny because even in our conversations with Bargo, our frustrations with Engvall was the fact that he was not physical enough.
Yes.
And he's got the size, and he's a fitness freak, and he could be so much more of a presence by throwing his weight around. And, we think that he could be that kind of a player. And, it'll be interesting to see. And I will go as far as say as I agree with you on that analysis of Engvall, and he should have a good season. He's getting paid for it. Shit.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have.
I'm good with that, man.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know who you think is going to break out. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace out.